DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
Inside to Stevenson, up against Kaminsky, Bucky good in the ball!
Santel, all the way to the basket, foul, lays it in for 2!
Hello, high school basketball fans. Welcome to the Upstate Hoops podcast here on Monday, February 10th, 2025. I'm Jim Sinicropi, live inside the FingerLakes1.com studios with Paul Russo and Kyle Evans as we inch ever closer to the end of the regular season and sectionals in some big-time games this week, some big-time upsets. We'll get to it all here shortly. The Upstate Hoops podcast and all of our coverage of Wayne Finger Lakes High School basketball is brought to you thanks to the support of Little John and Barbie Orthodontics. Check out Dr. Rod and Dr. Liz online at littlejohnortho.com. And Cicino's Pizzeria and Restaurant. Order online at cicinos.com. That's CICCINOS.com. And, of course, DeSanto Propane. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane. So, welcome in, fellas. Day after the Super Bowl. So now that football season's over, the eyes of the world can turn to Wayne Finger Lakes High School basketball. Coming down the stretch run. Did you enjoy the game last night?
You could call it that, sure. I guess I'm in the minority. I loved Kendrick, so that was great. Yeah.
You might be in the minority there, too. A lot of people didn't like the halftime show. I thought it was pretty good.
I loved it. I mean, but then again, like I said, I'm probably in the minority on that front, but love Kendrick. Love that we got the call out to Drake on that front, too, and everything like that.
You like Drake. You play his music all the time.
He's in the rotation, but, like, I mean, I'm more of a Kendrick guy.
Pick a side.
Kendrick. I'll stay Kendrick.
I didn't know you could go both ways on that.
I didn't think so either.
One or the other.
I mean, I do like some Drake stuff. I'm more of a Kendrick guy. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, but it is what it is. What about you, Kyle? Put you on the spot.
I mean, I hated the Super Bowl.
What?
I do every year, basically. It's not fun to me. It's the Chiefs and whoever else on the NFC. And
did you enjoy seeing the Chiefs get beat so badly?
I mean, yeah, it was cool to see, but it was almost hard to believe. I thought that for sure they were coming back in the second half or making it close, and they never did.
Yep. No, that wasn't much of a game. But like I said, it's over now. Time to turn to high school basketball. And it was a great week, and I think we should probably get right to it. Look at the results from the boys' side of things. On Monday, Sodus and South Seneca met down in Ovid, and South Seneca improved to 14-2 with an 82-47 win. 33 points from Kenny Halsey. And then on Tuesday, this was a game that was on FingerLakes1.com that we'll come back and talk about when we run through the scores here. Newark and Geneva. Geneva winning 63-60. Ramon Heredia with 18 points for Newark. Caden Larson Porter with 21 for Geneva, and DePatrick Overstreet with 14. The Minders boys came alive, defeating Pelmac 48-35 to improve their record to 8-8 behind 10 points from Jack Brady. So a little surprise there. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about this week, so I'll just continue through these scores. And this is on Tuesday night. Waterloo went into Penn Yan, won 88-57. Mentioned that specifically because Cameron Jacobs had 10 3-pointers for the Tigers.
Broke his own school record, right? I think.
I didn't get any information. I was trying to get information on that.
Like school record information?
Yeah, not a lot of information. Like, I don't even know. Is it the school record or program record? Coaches get mixed up all the time.
Yeah, that's true. The boys' school record. I don't know if that's a good question. Maybe we can get that answered. Somebody can email the show. Moving on to Wednesday night, Honeoye improved to 13-1, 82-56 over HAC. Bulldogs have now won 13 straight as of that win on Wednesday night. East Rochester improved to 13-3, defeating Williamson 77-54. Then on Thursday night, a huge game between Geneva and Lions. And that was the game. That was the game that it was on Finger Lakes one. Yeah, 57-54. The Lions get the win in the community center up in Lyons. 17 points from Jameer Johnson. Caden Larson Porter led the Panthers with 23. Friday night, game of the surprise score of the year, I guess. Although Wayne has been vulnerable, but Newark gets the win they've been looking for. After losing to Geneva earlier in the week, they defeat Wayne 68-63 in overtime, despite 40 points from Cam Blankenberg, made 15 free throws. Terrell Jenkins, 26, Janor Allen, 25. And we've been looking for that output from Allen and Jenkins all year. They haven't been anywhere near that. They show up Friday night in Newark in the Rose City and defeat Wayne. Come back and talk about that too in a second. Just one more score here. Honeoye won twice this week to improve to 14-1. They beat Livonia on Friday night, 77-62. Landon Washburn, 36 points and 1,000 points as a sophomore. Congratulations to Landon Washburn on that great accomplishment. I think 2,000 is probably in his sights now, but the Bulldogs, 14-1. So let's talk about things on the boys' side here the week that was, fellas. I mean, let's talk about Newark's week. And for that matter, Geneva's week, I guess. They both went 1-1. Geneva beat Newark and then loses to Lions. And then Newark, out of nowhere on Friday night, beats Wayne in overtime. I mean, we've been saying we thought Newark had the talent to be a competitive team. They haven't been that thus far. That win only improved them to 8-10. But how does a team with a losing record lose or beat Wayne? You know, handing them their second loss of the year, 16-2 now.
Because of sports.
Yeah, well, high school basketball doesn't usually pack a lot of surprises like this.
True, but in actual honesty here, I did get some answers. I'd give some credit here to Nick Felice. I asked him because we were talking a little bit last week kind of about stuff, and Newark's been dealing with a little bit of health stuff kind of going on. So looks like a couple guys got healthy, mainly Allen and Jenkins. It appears a little bit there on that front, and hey, I don't know if that's fully the case, right? But, you know, clearly they got just a really good week out of them. And,
well, good game.
You know,
they also lost in Geneva. Not that losing in Geneva is anything, but, you know, if they had beaten Geneva and then beat Wayne, it's like, man, Newark's finally coming together. To me, this is still a bit of a anomaly.
Correct. But to me, I think it just shows that, like, okay, it's there. Maybe you kind of have to just take this year as a little bit of a wash in the grand scheme of it in that sense, right? But clearly looking at next year, I mean, I think that they have some stuff figured out and ready to go in that sense.
But, Kyle, if they can beat Wayne, they can beat anybody in sectionals.
Yeah, this is definitely a huge confidence booster. I was watching it live. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And the fact that Newark was up 7 with 40 seconds left, and they allowed Wayne to come back and tie it to go to the overtime. I was like, wow, is that going to be another collapse by Newark? We talked about it last week in one of their games. But yeah, I think this is the perfect time to beat a team like Wayne. Heading into sectionals, you have all the confidence in the world. We can beat anyone. They saw Waterloo beat them as well, but I would say this is more of a surprise.
And you know, Cam Blankenberg scored 40 and lost. So
yeah.
Usually when he's scoring 40 against a league opponent, that's going to be a win. So, yeah, pretty impressive stuff.
Both Class A, too, for sectionals.
Yeah, so I don't know if Newark can do it again, but if they have to do it again. But I would like to see Newark, you know, continue winning some games heading into sectionals to prove this wasn't a one-off, because they had a chance to win the game in Geneva, too, and they couldn't pull that one off. Now, Jenkins and Janor Allen weren't anywhere near the top of the box score like they were on Friday night, but still, you know, this Newark team's been hard to figure out, I guess, this year.
Kind of been the case a little bit around the league, Finger Lakes East in a sense as well, maybe. But
including mine. How about that Minders win over Palmac? Did they need that or what?
Bit of a shot in the arm, right? Kind of resets them. And maybe this is something more for obviously later on, because Jim, you kind of mentioned it, right, a little bit. You know, this is the last full week of games before we get to sectional play, technically at the start, or well, at the end of next week anyway. So, yeah, you get yourselves right a little bit here, get yourselves a little momentum, and ever starts the debate, I guess, of rather be hot than good at the right time, I suppose.
The problem is they have had a couple of 3-game win streaks, and then they go and lose 3 or 4.
Yeah, right.
So they do get momentum, and then they just throw it away. So I don't know what to make of that. Obviously, it's a good win and nice to get back to 500, but I'm
On
not
the
sure.
road.
Yeah.
They were on the road as well. Marcus Whitman picked up a couple wins this week as well, and on Tuesday night, Paul and I will be at the Arthur L. Baker Gymnasium to call that game live. Marcus Whitman at Minders, and to me, that's going to be a real interesting game. They're in the same class this year.
Minders B1, Whitman B2. So,
Okay, so they're in the same class, but not the same subclass, I guess. So they could meet in a state playing situation if that were to happen. But obviously, really high on Marcus Whitman. Been waiting for Minders to start playing better, knowing that they have a shot to be a sectional championship caliber team if they can get some momentum going. So that'll be a big game Tuesday night for sure. And then Landon Washburn, Kyle, 1,000 points, is a sophomore, 36 on Friday in the win. I mean, add another one to the 1,000-point club this year, and a sophomore.
Yeah, he needed 34 in that game. Going into it, I knew that. I was like, I'm not sure he gets that. And he goes and scores 18 in the third quarter alone, gets it in the fourth on a free throw. Just incredible, again, that he's just a sophomore and 1,000 points. In fact, he might be able to get over 2,000 the way he's scoring. I'm not sure his exact average.
On his way over the next couple weeks, and they could make a sectional run as well. Honeoye probably in Class C 2 or 3 or something like that.
I can't remember off the top of my head on that one.
So anyways, yeah, crazy week on the boys' side of things for sure. Let's kick it over and take a look at the girls. So, Monday. This was the other game you guys called last week. Waterloo at Lions. Actually, let's go back to that boys' side real quick. I wanted to talk to you guys about the Lions-Geneva game. I got so caught up in Newark. Lions in Geneva was everything it was billed out to be, right down to the stretch in Lions. And, the Lions, again, get a good win. Like, this Lions team is becoming more consistently good, I think, as the season goes on. And we'll see where they land in the new power rankings. But impressive win on home court against, Geneva, 10-5 Geneva team.
Yeah, this was an interesting game. Back and forth first half overall, I'd call it. I know Lions was able to kind of more do arm's length through the second quarter, but Geneva was still well within shouting distance, to put it lightly, through the first half. Third quarter into the fourth quarter is where Lions got a little bit more ahead, got up to double digits there in the fourth, but then Geneva, who at this point to me on the boys' side probably has the best overall defense that I've seen so far this year, got themselves back in it. And just a couple missed shots there away from getting a win. And tough part is, I know it was Andrew Green who kind of missed those, but he played great defense. But the key part here is you aren't in that spot without him making a couple clutch threes as well. And I just want to say, for him, keep your head up, because obviously he got them back in it. In addition, I know Caden Larson also did really well on the defensive end and on offense.
23 points for Larson.
It was one of those things where if just one more shot, like one or two more shots went Geneva's way, we're talking about a completely different thing here today than we are.
Yeah, Lions led by 11 with 5 minutes to go. It was a 1-point game with 25 seconds to go. It's a little concerning to me that Lions seems to do this too often. Canisteo Greenwood, they were up 9 with 3 minutes to go. It went to overtime. I think the East Rochester game, too, they let ER come back late.
Right.
So just a little concerning that they're having trouble closing out games. Hopefully they can fix that a little bit. They're winning, but, again, sectional opponents are going to be a lot more tough, I would say.
Yes, Syracuse has trouble closing teams out with lead, too, like Boston College this week. But they got the win in triple overtime. Yep. How would you compare, Kyle, this Lions team to the sectional championship Lions teams of the past few years? Are they that caliber? Are they, it's tough to tell if they would be a state caliber candidate, like a state Final Four. But as far as just stacking them up against the other sectional championship teams of the past few years, you think that's the same caliber team in Lions?
I don't, but that still doesn't mean that they can't go and win a sectional championship.
Right.
I just think like last year's team was better in my mind. And I just feel like a lot of times this Lions team plays down to their opponent too much. They're better than almost all these teams they play. And they just make these sloppy mistakes to allow teams to stay in the game, or like I said, they allow teams to come back late. It's like they take their foot off the gas and just kind of like coast instead of just keep pushing on them. So I think they'll win a sectional championship, but I don't think they're better than last year.
Yeah, well, it's weird too because Jameer Johnson was on the team last year, obviously, and he's definitely better this year, right? He's shown
for
improvement.
sure.
But yeah, other guys still try to find their roles maybe in Lions.
Yeah.
I think one of the bigger spots there that I think they're still kind of missing to a degree might be kind of like a guard leader type role, like we saw Mike Briggs kind of had in the past couple of years. I will say this, Contrail Parker's, to me, really stepped up into that role. I still think there's some room for growth there from him. But the things I kind of saw still from that game Thursday from him were pretty good overall in the grand scheme of it. It's tough because even in today's modern game, it's tough having your center five, whatever you want to call it, be a kind of like de facto leader in that sense. I think Johnson does a really great job kind of being the anchor of that Lions team, obviously. I just think it's one of those things where I think once the guards like Stavella Breck and Quantrell Parker still kind of get kind of more of their confidence and voices being, solidified, it really would make me feel a little bit more better about them.
Yeah, well, credit to them in pulling off a close game. They have won a couple of close games. These types of games prepare you for sectionals, but a 3-point win on Thursday night in Lions over the Panthers. Okay, so now we can kick it over and take a look at the week that was in girls basketball. And yeah, Monday night, Paul and Nate called this one. Waterloo defeated Lions 61-52 to improve to 11-4. Lions dropped to 12-2. A battle of one of the probably most anticipated non-league battles for sure of the season in girls basketball. Gwen Panic, 15 points. Macy Muller, 13 points. Delaney batting with 12. For Lions, Jay LaBelle had 20 and Carmela Parker had 18. And we'll come back and talk about that one after we run through a few more of these results. Lions was back in action on Wednesday, and they got a 61-34 win over North Rose Wolcott. Why do we mention this game? Well, Jay LaBelle had 23 points. She entered the night just needing 8 points to become the Lions' all-time leading scorer. She wasted no time reaching the mark in the first quarter and then surpassing her stepbrother, a FingerLakes1.com darling of the late 2010s. 2019 grad Justice Smith previously held the record, so this is a school record, boys and girls. She passed Justice, who had 1,987 points. And then in the third quarter, she joined the 2,000-point club. So pretty nice night for Jay LaBelle after becoming the all-time leading scorer and then joining the 2,000-point club. So pretty good stuff there. And then in a huge game in the Finger Lakes East, Newark beat Bloomfield 64-59 in the Rose City. Saw some good basketball in Newark this week if you made it out to the gym. Naomi Jones, 19 points on 5 3-pointers. Karina Talley with 14 points. Bloomfield was led by Lily Bauman with 27 points. She had 5 3-pointers of her own. And Kayla McCombs with 19. That's a great matchup of a couple of really good teams who, after that win by Newark, both sat at 11-5 on the season. Thursday night, Williamson Marion got a 42-37 win over East Rochester. Wanted to mention it here. Bombers held a 2-point lead with 2:49 left in regulation, but Williamson closed the game on a 10-2 run, capped by Georgie Alexander's clutch free throw in the final second. So good, congratulations, Williamson Marion. And I also mentioned that because they're now 9-9. So nice to see the resurgence of those two programs now combining forces. Clyde Savannah went to overtime for the second time, I think, this season, and I think they won both times.
Yep.
Against Red Creek. pretty good Red Creek team, and Clyde Savannah won 59-54 in Red Creek to move to 12-6. Golden Eagles tied the game with 3 seconds left in regulation thanks to Bella Smart's jumper, which forced overtime. And then in overtime, it was all Golden Eagles outscoring the Rams 7-2. Taylor Carnevale, 15 points. Larissa Walters, 14 points. Taylor Record, 13 points. For Red Creek, Taylor Bailey led the way with 21. And then on Friday, you saw the Waterloo Tigers head to Minders and come out with a 67-31 win in the crosstown rivalry. 3 straight for the Tigers since losing to Newark. And it was Addison Bree leading the way with 26 points, including 8 3-pointers. So they're shooting threes in Waterloo on both sides of the ball. That's a lot of threes went through the hoop this week for Waterloo Tigers, boys and girls. And I also wanted to mention this real quick. On Friday night, Naples defeated South Seneca 42-29. The Naples ladies improved to 8-8. So another program on the resurgence at 500 now, and it's good to see. So let's go back to Monday night, talk about this Waterloo Lions game. 61-52. I think, we saw Geneva and Lions face off, and Lions has played Wayne, and I think on the boys' side it's more of an even match. I do think that the best teams in the Finger Lakes East have an advantage over the top teams in Wayne County, and it kind of played out that way. But still, a 9-point game. Like, how you guys were courtside for this one? How was it a close game?
I mean, I thought it was. It was pretty interesting kind of talking to people pregame. I think everybody kind of thought Waterloo was going to win. I don't know about necessarily handily, but I was just like, I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people think. And that was the case for, I'd say, probably about 75% of the game, give or take. I will say this. Waterloo jumped out pretty big. It was good to see. In my mind, I want to give a lot of credit and kudos to Delaney Batten, who had 3 threes in the second quarter, just absolutely went on a heater off the bench for Waterloo. It was one of those things where, off to the side here, I've kind of wondered, like, okay, we've seen the usual suspects for Waterloo. Like, who could be a little bit of an addition, and maybe that will be Delaney Batten kind of moving forward a little bit there. Sure. But, yeah, Lions, kudos to them, just kind of kept themselves in it, dragged themselves back in it a little bit in the fourth quarter to make it a little bit closer than 9. I know it got down to 5 at one point through free throws and everything. So I think all things considered for Lions, it was a tough spot. It was weird. I know you weren't necessarily there, Kyle, but to me it was one of those things where it was like Lions couldn't get an exact rhythm going on offense too much all night. They had pockets of it here and there, but nothing consistently to me anyway, to keep them in it the whole time.
Yeah, it was an 11-point game at halftime. I just thought Waterloo was better overall. They'd made enough plays, made enough big shots in key times. I do think Lions is still very good, and they will compete in sectionals. But Waterloo just has just another level above Lions, and I agree with what you're saying. I think the East teams overall are just a little better than Wayne County.
Waterloo usually has a level above most teams. So it's not really even a shot at Lions. Although Waterloo did struggle to beat Penn Yan.
Well, and the interesting part too, not to go into that side of it, but like I think a lot of people forgot last year Waterloo and Lions played in Waterloo. Waterloo won by 10. Essentially, the same teams faced off against each other more or less in this game this time around, and Lions ended up losing by 9 this time around on home court. So, it seemed like it was a very mirror game from 2024 to 2025 in that sense.
Yep. Kyle, talk a little bit about Jay LaBelle. I mean, you're a Lions grad.
Yep.
You knew Justice Smith. He was incredible.
Yep.
Went on to play Division I basketball at Eastern Tennessee State, after I think when Niagara.
He's at Niagara this year.
Yep.
Oh, this year's at Niagara. At first he went to a school in Pennsylvania.
Mansfield.
Yeah, Mansfield. Yep. It's a great story, and, been covering basketball for decades now, and he was maybe the best I've ever seen. Didn't start out that way. He could see the potential, but by the time he was a junior, that's kind of when it turned the corner, and then his senior year, he was just phenomenal, But now his sister Jayla has surpassed his scoring. That kind of, I didn't know that she was even. I mean, she's perhaps played a few more years, in the rotation. But I mean, well, that's an incredible accomplishment for Jayla Bell, outscoring her brother's school record 1,987 points, and then joining the 2,000 point club, which is very rare to be a member. That's a rare membership in that club.
Yeah, I think I was mostly surprised just because of the history that surrounds Lions in the basketball program. Even on the boys' side, I was kind of shocked that no one hit the 2,000 point mark. But I think it's kind of what you said. She's been on varsity, I think, since 7th grade or maybe 8th. I heard 7, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it was 7th. I can remember, her first coming up, and people knew of her when she was in 7th grade.
Yeah, so that definitely helps. Justice Smith, 13 points short of 2,000, but you're right. He definitely improved in the last couple of years. Remember those Clyde Lions games were a lot of fun with him involved.
Unbelievable.
Chance brothers.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's cool because Justice was actually the first person I met when I moved to Lions in 4th grade. We were in the same class. We were friends for a while. He's my first friend. We did a lot, played basketball a lot together at the center. So yeah, me and him were close.
For you?
Me and him I was actually on his level. He'll tell you about it to this day. I was a 3-point shooter, and we used to play in the in-house community center league, and he only had 9 more points than I did the whole season.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was fun. So it's cool to see a guy that I grew up with, and was my first friend at Lions.
Yeah, and then obviously a lot of accolades and accomplishments while he was there, and just pretty cool, I think, to see Jayla top that. At least from a statistical standpoint. Now, one thing that Justice did that Jayla hasn't done yet that I think she'd like to is probably win a sectional championship. But yeah, I mean, I could sit here and talk about those Lions-Clyde matchups back in that era. They were unbelievable. They defined Justice Smith's career too a little bit because when he was pretty ballyhooed when he was a freshman even, but Clyde beat him twice, and then sophomore year Clyde beat him twice. Whether it's Drew Carnivale, Derek Chance. Marcus Chance, and then later on it was the youngest Cam Chance.
Yep.
All on the same team. But by the time when Justice was a junior, they won at Lions, I think, for the first time, and stormed the court and everything.
Yep.
And then I think Justice's senior year, Lions won both of those, if I remember right. But they were just packed houses, and you don't see anything like that anymore. Certainly between Lions and Clyde recently, but really that type of atmosphere in any high school gym. They were played at the Atwood too. Clyde would come to the Atwood, and they would sell out of tickets 2 weeks in advance, and just overflowing. It's crazy. But anyways, I do think if Clyde rebuilds their program, which they're starting to, that type of thing could happen again. It's one of the best rivalries in the Wayne Finger Lakes. So, all right. With that being said, let's talk one more thing on girls basketball. Bloomfield Newark, pretty good game. As I said, 2 big wins in the gym for Newark. The boys beat Wayne, and then Newark beat Bloomfield. A really good Bloomfield team, and I don't know how the power rankings are going to shake off. We know Newark did beat Waterloo, right? And now they beat Bloomfield. They are starting to really come together, and are they with no offense to Waterloo, but they did beat them. But at this time, right now, are they the best girls basketball team in the Wayne Finger Lakes? Or would you take Waterloo?
I mean,
if in a head-to-head.
I don't know. They split the season series, so that's a tough one to.
But Newark won the most recent one, and now they beat Bloomfield. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably still go Waterloo, but that's just because for me, Waterloo started above them on the year, and it's kind of how it shakes out. And I've been over the way I go about my business on that front, but this is a really good spot though for Newark, man. I'm telling you, they've done really well so far this year. And Bloomfield, it's gonna. I know we aren't talking about this week yet, but man, Bloomfield's got one hell of a gauntlet to go through going back starting in next week from last week at Newark. they're at Paul Mac this week, and they're at Waterloo this week. I mean, back through kind of the gauntlet of the traditional quote-unquote powers of the Finger Lakes East here a little
the
bit.
new member of the league, and now they're getting a taste of what it's going to mean, night in, night out, playing that gauntlet. But, the other thing, Kyle, is Takayla Vaughn wasn't one of the top scorers in this game. They beat Bloomfield. Naomi Jones had 19, got hot from behind the three-point line. And Karina Tatali, who's usually does a lot on the court but isn't relied on to score, had 14. And so good to see Newark able to win on a night when the points weren't coming from Vaughn.
Yeah, I think they're playing better as a team. A lot more contributions from everyone. I think just earlier in the year, they did face tough competition, facing some Class A schools. And I just think they needed time to kind of gel together, develop a little more. And now they can win, like you said, without Takayla Vaughn even, leading the way. So that's huge. And remember, they still have to play Waterloo again this year. I think, is that next week or later this week?
We're talking Bloomfield, right?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bloomfield. Bloomfield still has to play Waterloo. Yeah. And remember, the last time they played, it was a 3-point difference.
Right.
So we have kind of a three-way kind of like tight race to the end.
Yeah, with Waterloo controlling their own destiny, I suppose. If Waterloo wins, they'll win the league.
Yep. They have a half-game lead on Newark right now, Waterloo.
So, good stuff. It's great to see for sure. So, with all that being said, let's take a look at the power rankings here. We got a couple more editions to go before sectional start. And starting with the girls, and Waterloo does stay in the top spot unanimously, right? But there is an opportunity, I suppose, the way things shake out this week, that next week at this time, it could be somebody else, depending on if, Waterloo can win their games this week. But Newark number 2, Lions number 3, Bloomfield 4. So Bloomfield didn't get hit too bad by that loss to Newark. And then you get down here with some traditional Finger Lakes West opponents. Dundee Bradford, always solid. Marcus Whitman I think they've been 6 for like 20 consecutive weeks.
Pretty much.
and part of it's they're not getting a chance to play maybe Bloomfields or the Lions or the Newarks or Waterloos, or maybe they have. I can't remember all the games we covered. But Palmac hanging tough there despite Then they lost a game this week. I thought they maybe could have won. But and then to number 8, Clyde Savannah up to 9. And then tied for 10, Geneva moving into the rankings. And with Penn Yan, despite losing, they play everybody tough. So there you have it on the girls' side.
Yeah, I don't know. I have women personally up at 4 to kind of piggyback off of that. I mean, I don't know.
Keep winning.
That's the main issue with me and again, going back to the way I stand on my standings. I mean, you win. I'm not going to really diminish what you do. So
have to move somebody down when they win.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I mean, we already talked about it. Waterloo's probably our consensus. It was obviously
they're unanimous.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the boys.
Where there was little movement collectively overall here.
Even though Wayne did lose to Newark, they stay number 1. Of course, Wayne beat Lions earlier this year. Waterloo did beat Wayne. Waterloo might have a case to be considered for that number 1 point. But you know what? It wasn't unanimous for Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Who was what was the number 1, the only other number 1 vote?
I went Lions.
Oh, you're going to admit that you came out Lions, but they played this year.
They won last week, and
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's a chink in the armor for Wayne, in at least in terms of our power rankings. First time they haven't been unanimous all year, probably, right?
That if not the first, it's only like the second. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think 1 week I put Lions 1.
Yeah.
Huh, well, okay. Hey, look, by Wayne losing to Newark this week, it shows that maybe they aren't as dominant as we thought. I mean, sometimes you get enamored with Cam Blankenberg because he clearly is the best player in the Wayne Finger Lakes, right?
Yeah.
Into that conversation,
I would say so.
I'd say yes. I mean, no knock on anybody else. Like, who might be the second best player in the Wayne Finger Lakes?
Who's that?
Yeah,
Brody Royston.
Yeah.
He's a difference maker.
Yeah, look, I'm telling you.
12-2 with him in the lineup this year.
Yeah, and he had a huge game with 30 points this week.
4 straight wins, I think, now.
Yeah, so He's a little smaller in stature than Cam.
No Jameer Johnson?
Jameer Johnson can be considered for sure. Just a different type of player. When you're talking about a, big guy in the middle, it's tough to evaluate against Cam Blankenberg could play all 5 positions.
It's true.
Lions people love you this week, Paul.
It's fair.
You got them number 1. You got Jameer. Best
I'm just
player
saying,
around.
I don't disagree probably on the Cam front overall. I'm just, throwing a little bit more in there. If we're going to pepper in a couple more guys, I'll pepper in a couple more guys.
Well, if we had to talk about it, Cam Blankenberg, Brody Royston you're saying Jameer Johnson. Who, if you name another person?
Oh.
I mean, a lot of different guys get it done for Waterloo. I mean, picking from the top teams.
Yeah, that Cam Jacobs is pretty good. I think just best all around, though, it's only between and we're most consistent is Cam and Jameer. Brody is obviously good, but it's not like he leads away every single time. They have other guys that, contribute more.
Can I offer one more?
Yeah,
Landon Washburn.
Yeah, Landon Washburn. Look what he's done for his team. Yeah. Kenny Halsey at South Seneca. If we're talking about teams that we didn't expect to be as dominant as they have been.
But because of his age and, he hasn't played varsity a ton, do we include him on that level with Cam and Jameer?
I'm just introducing a little.
I've never seen him in person.
There,
I've never seen Landon Washburn play in person. That might change in the postseason this year.
I can't pick one.
I mean, I'm just introducing a few more flavors into the mix. You know what I mean? Like, hey.
I already got called out by the Geneva boys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did the Lions Geneva game, and I guess we were talked about on the whole bus ride into the game or to the game. They think that you said that Lions is going to win by 19, but I said that.
Oh.
And they were pretty fired up, and in fact,
good thing I wasn't there.
Lions was up 11 with 5 minutes to go. I mean, if Lions kept their foot on the gas, it could have been 19. I mean, it wasn't that crazy to say, but they took it to the heart. Ed Collins said that he loves it, though, because it motivates them. All coaches should probably love that. But I'm here to address it to you guys on camera.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, it was me. It's just a prediction. Go win.
Yeah. Well, that's great that they're watching and that they would take a little motivation on that front. We do it for fun. It's obviously nothing personal. We just try to evaluate what the best teams are and what we think will happen, and it's fun to watch. Got to love high school basketball, and this year has not disappointed in terms of stuff to talk about. So throw those girls' power rankings back up there one last time here. Okay. Yeah. So we had the boys.
Yeah, I was about
to forgot
say,
we did the girls first. So you had Wayne, Lions, Waterloo, and then Honeoye. Geneva or maybe Marcus Whitman even could have a point here that, who does Honeoye play? I don't know. The Honeoye, you're rarely going to see a Honeoye step up and play a Class A opponent.
They play who's in front of them and they handle
them.
business.
Since the very first game of the season that they lost to South Seneca, they've beat everybody, and they're up now in the top 5 at number 4. Geneva right behind them at 5, despite losing 2 games this week, right?
Yeah, see, that's why I had Whitman 5.
Yeah, I think I might have had Whitman
4 straight wins.
Geneva. I don't have my personal ballot here, but
12-5, better overall record. They did lose to Geneva, though, badly.
Yes.
But if we're going off from week-to-week basis, Marcus Whitman should be 5.
Well, now you got the Geneva kids are really going to be after you. But Geneva 5, Whitman 6, South Seneca 7. Great to see the South Seneca boys consistently in our power rankings. East Rochester boys having a great season at 8. Gananda very solid as well at 9. And then Pal Mac, despite losing to Minders, hanging on there at 10. And, I think Minders this week against Marcus Whitman on Tuesday, they're playing to get into this power rankings next week. I think a Minders win might put them in. They'll be 9-8. They play a difficult schedule. That's why it's hard to scare, South Seneca or Honeoye. If they were to play Minders, who would win? I think a lot of people would take Minders because of Minders just playing a tougher schedule day in and day out. But, who knows? But they got to beat Whitman first Tuesday.
I don't know. Personally, for me, Miners is going to have to jump a couple more teams to get to the top 10 for me personally. But I am once again, for the second week in a row, asking, where is the Red Creek Rams? Where is the love for the Rams on the boys' side? So It is what it is.
Yeah, you can make a case for Red Creek, but I don't know. Kyle, do you think Minders is like on the precipice? You know, do you think a Minders win over Marcus Whitman gets them into the top 10 next week?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a really good win that could push them up there. I personally had Dundee Bradford 10. I've kind of been mixing each week
It's
number
hard,
10.
man, when you get down there. There's
Yeah.
a lot of good teams.
Yeah, they've won 5 in a row. Pelmac could be there, but they're mediocre as of late. If you've really looked, they're 3-3 in their last 6.
Yeah, they got off to a good start.
They're like sometimes not even scoring past 30 points, 40.
Caught up with them.
Red Creek does deserve credit. I mean, they hung really tough with Lions. That was a really quality game for them. But still, are we basing it off wins? Because if we are, then they're not there. So I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, we could go. There was a time when we thought we'd maybe go to top 20, but then,
Yeah.
I mean, there's 28 teams, with depending Williams and Marion combined, there's 27 teams in the Wayne Finger Lakes leagues. Is that right?
No, I think it's what 8.
We got a couple
8
independents.
and 7. I think we're at like 24.
Plus
24,
Lions
25
and
maybe.
Whitman.
Yeah.
Or Whitman's in the East.
Well, girls.
they're independent.
Girls are in the West, independent. They're
But
boys,
Lions
yeah.
and Whitman are independent. Geneva girls are independent.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, top 10. Look, I've always said if you're in the top 10, we consider you a shot at to win sectionals. And so some of those teams that are just outside the top 10, I wouldn't feel too confident, in them winning a sectional title this year. But anybody in the top 10 has got a shot.
And let me just clear this up one last time. I have no problem with Geneva. I literally don't.
You played baseball. Did they you were a pitcher? Did they get a lot of hits off you?
No, I've never had a problem with
Probably
Geneva.
never played Geneva, did you?
Once in a while in summer we would, but yeah. I literally have no problem. I'm just literally basing it off the facts.
Yeah.
And a prediction's a prediction. They're going to be wrong. I said a 19-point win for Lions. Sorry, you guys lost by 3 and not 19. I mean, it's not the end of the world based on my prediction.
No, but and this Geneva team to me is hard to nail down. Inconsistent. They show sometimes they play as good as anybody in the league, and then they turn around and lose a game that they had no business losing.
Yeah, they were up on Newark by 11 with 3 minutes to go, and Newark ended up only losing by 3.
Yep.
So, I mean, Geneva's still good, and I'm still high on them. I think they can do well in sectionals, but I mean, I'm just going off
Oh man, that Class A is going to be tough.
Yep.
But we could see a lot of matchups between our Wayne Finger Lakes teams, maybe as early as the quarterfinal round. So, be something to watch for. Week ahead here, the last full week of the regular season, right? The last full week.
Yes.
Next week would be a half week, and then 2 weeks from So 2 weeks from today, we'll be breaking down sectional brackets on this podcast.
I mean, to be fair, we could probably be next week, even more or less. But
I don't know if they'll be set, but
they won't. They won't be set. The tough.
We can look at it.
Can I? Do I have a gripe here?
Sure.
Do I have a grind my gears moment?
Yeah.
The season's starting late this year, and now we have sectionals starting on a weekend right on the heels of the regular season, quite literally ending a day before.
No, they have been
That's
the past
crazy.
couple years too, where
Did
they,
it?
Yeah, like
but
Saturday.
not everybody. Just a few games. I think
Saturday.
Lions has a game on Thursday, and sectionals might start for them on Saturday if they don't get a bye.
Yeah.
So I apologize.
At least
then
for 2 straight
if I'm
years.
tripping then.
I mean, maybe it was 4 or 5 years ago, but
It would be nice to get a little bit of a break and digest the brackets a little bit.
I apologize then if I'm tripping, but it just feels like it's damn, some of these teams are.
Sometimes though with sectionals, it feels like let's get these first round games out of the way because there's very rarely any surprises at that point.
how about the Lions girls? They're playing 5 games in the next 9 days. Don't you think they should have maybe played a couple more earlier in the year to spread them out a little bit?
To be rested
Kinda
up
weird,
for
but-
either that or they're going all in for the sectional run.
Yep.
Well, anyway, let's look at the week ahead.
Yeah.
From the girls, Paul, what do you see on there that floats your boat? I see Lions at Minders.
Well, yeah, I mean that game's up there. I didn't have that initially listed down for me. The first game I got tonight, Bloomfield at Paul Mac, kind of was my first really big one that I had anyway.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one. You mentioned Bloomfield's got a tough run here.
And Bloomfield
Naples
lost.
coming into Geneva.
Well, independent, obviously Geneva on that side. So,
Yeah.
Interesting kind of opening day of games because there's some non-league sprinkled in there for some teams. I mean, like you have Padilla, which is, I guess, is it technically Franklin? I don't know how that technically is working, but they're playing like at Newark, so that's a pretty good
I thought he was
as
a pitcher
well.
for the Phillies.
Vicente Padilla? Let's not get me started on him.
They're 0-13, by the way.
Oh, they
team
are?
that's going
Never
to
mind then.
Yeah.
Usually that's not quite the opposite, but either way. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the first game I got. And then, yeah, Lions at Binders is an interesting non-league there, too. Lions coming down 2 Binders.
Tigers girls are playing a little better.
For the second year in a row, Lions coming down 2 Binders for that game.
Huh.
So.
Another one that stands out to me for a little bit that might normally not is on Wednesday night, Williamson Marion at Clyde.
I had that one as well as one of my big ones.
And Williamson Marion can get one game above 500 with a win, and Clyde's trying to, continue to accumulate these sectional points and get into a good spot for the sectional tournament. So that's a good one.
Red Creek
South
Ananda,
Seneca,
too.
Marcus Whitman, CG Finney at Minders girls. Yeah, so
Red Creek Ananda girls is an interesting one. They're on Wednesday night as well.
Newark at Minders on Thursday. Bloomfield at Waterloo Friday's the big one, though, right? That's
Probably.
That is the one to keep your eyes on.
Yeah. ER Lions.
Rochester Lions, yeah.
Saturday, we got a good one. Fairport, non-league, 11-5 at 11-5 Pelmac.
Huh.
So that should be an interesting non-league game.
Yeah. So, flip over to the boys.
Yeah, let's look at the boys.
Alrighty. Nothing tonight.
Yeah, 0.
Kind of crazy.
Okay, Bloomfield at South Seneca. So the South Seneca boys having a good season. Palmac at Geneva boys. So now there's a good chance here for Geneva. Geneva should beat Palmac, right?
Yeah, and Pelmac won the first meeting.
Right. So this should be retribution, revenge, whatever you want to call it, for Geneva. And so, just when we're evaluating stuff, we expect to see Geneva win this game. But the way they've gone this year, I don't know if we can count on it. So we'll find out tomorrow night. Gananda at Red Creek, a pretty interesting game up in Wayne County. Honeoye at Red Jacket. Now, there's a game that Honeoye could lose. Red Jacket certainly probably not having the same type of season as Honeoye, but they have been
pretty good, though.
Solid, yeah.
Want to hear the first meeting, though? A 38-point win for Honeoye.
Yeah, and that was one of those times where he started to look at Honeoye and say, what's going on down there?
Yep.
And then, Paul, we'll have at Minders, we don't have the best seats in the house. We'll be in the corner of the gymnasium, right? But it's nice. It's a little cool over there too by the door. But we'll be there calling live. Marcus Whitman at Minders. I can't wait for this one. I just think there's a lot at stake for both teams late in the season here to get things going in the right direction. Now, Whitman has had things going in the right direction. It's a chance for Minders to get things going in the right direction and Whitman to keep the momentum going. So.
Yeah, I think didn't me and you do that game last year too in Minders? I could be wrong.
Yeah,
maybe it was a
Minders,
couple.
or was it
Maybe it was a
Whitman?
couple of years ago, but yeah, it's
We
always.
don't call a lot of games together, but I do think we do.
I just remember being in Minders for a Minders Whitman game within the past couple of years. So, but hey, if it's any consolation, I'll go closer to the door. I got a little bit more natural thermal energy that I can chill out by the door if need be.
Yeah, we'll dress warm, but hopefully it's a good crowd.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see this Whitman team in person, see Brody Royston play, and it's just, I want to see if this Minders team is getting closer to the sectional championship team from last year. A lot of the same players are there, and theoretically, should be getting better, and so they should be. I don't know if they can be favorites at this point, but they should be expected, at least of themselves. But a lot of times with a team like that, I think they're like, yeah, whatever. When sectionals comes around, we'll play good. But, I want to see it.
I think for them, I don't think that's the right mentality to have this year, just based on the fact of like kind of what we're seeing from other B1 teams this year, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
This is a game that they got to win if they want to prove to themselves that they can.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll talk about that courtside in the pregame. Mm-hmm. But some other games on the boys' side, Waterloo at Minders, another chance on the very next night, for maybe Minders to move up a notch as we've been discussing. And then you move ahead to Thursday night. Clyde at Gananda is a pretty good one. Williamson at Marion is a little rivalry. South Seneca at Red Jacket. So both Honeoye and South Seneca go to Red Jacket this week. Could potentially shake things up in the Finger Lakes West. Friday night, Minders at Newark. What a week for Minders. Wow.
Yeah.
Be good or a bad week?
Yeah, I mean, they need this opportunity to, like I say, kind of flip the script on how the season's been going, but it could also just be a nail in the coffin type of week for them. So tune in Tuesday night.
Yeah. What a tease.
Pelmac at Wayne's always a fun rivalry game. Pelmac seems to be struggling a little bit. Wayne's probably not going to be looking to let the pedal off the gas after losing to Newark. Red Jacket at Red Creek. That's a Paul Russo special right
Love
there.
is in the air with the color red on Valentine's Day Friday night on that one.
Yeah, and Honeoye going out of league against Genesee Valley Belfast. So, yeah, a pretty interesting little week here is the last full week of the regular season. And then next week they got games for like Monday through Thursday.
I saw an interesting, now obviously we are Wayne Finger Lakes here. Preface it with that in the big time way. But I saw on the Section 5 schedule a pretty, if you have the availability to somehow tune in on this game for Saturday, I'd say do it. Rush Henriettas, who are having a really good year on the boys' side, they're going down to take on Jamestown in Jamestown, who is also having a really damn good year out of Section 6.
Potential Class A state playing game.
AAA for the Jamestown
AAA,
side.
yeah.
So
Oh, Rush isn't
I think
Henrietta's?
they're double. I don't. Either way, like that game's like. I need to find a way to watch that game Saturday. I think on some sort of monitor. But like I saw that, and my eyes went like, that's got to be.
Yeah, Rush Henrietta 16-0. They're in AAA.
Yeah.
They're coached by Kelvin Betts,
yeah.
who used to
Oh,
coach
no
the
kidding.
Lions girls. So
Yeah, as recently as like 2 years ago, right? He
was 2
coached
years
Jay
ago, yeah.
LaBelle.
Yep.
And that Jamestown team, they beat Lions, right? I think this year.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Right before Christmas, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, which look, that's a tough ask for Lions. Lions goes to win sectional titles and goes to, state Final Fours and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
they're not a AAA team.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
I know. I just apologies for going off the rails there. It's one of those things where I saw. I'm like, that's actually like a really good game.
Well, it is a good
you
game,
know?
and if Rush Henrietta wins, you can start to consider that could be a preview of the Far West Regional.
It's true. Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, fellas. Well, if there's not anything else, I guess we can call it a show.
I think so.
Covered a lot today. Real interesting week, I think, in Wayne Finger Lakes High School basketball. And I mentioned now that the Super Bowl's over, the eyes of the sporting public can turn to the hard court for the last week of high school basketball. So thanks for joining us here on the Upstate Hoops podcast. As always, connect with us on social media. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button right down there next to the player. That all our episodes will come right up for you. You can find our show, live stream games, and local news, weather, and sports 24/7 on the free FingerLakes1.com app or mobile site. Thanks again to Little John and Barbie Orthodontics, Cicino's Pizzeria and Restaurant, and DeSanto Propane. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week on Monday afternoon. Till then, go get 'em.